Coming up next on NewsDepth, Nick outlines the role of the president in this week's Politics on Point. We see what has happened around the world so far this year. An engineer has answers to your questions about his job. And we meet some horses helping people build their strength and confidence. NewsDepth is now. Hello, friends, and welcome back. How was your break? I'm your host, Gabriel Kramer. Thank you for joining us as always. 2024 is a big year for democracy. Americans will exercise their right to vote, shaping the course of the nation for the next chapter, as the United States will be electing the President of the United States in November. Throughout the year, we will be bringing you the top news from the race. We'll talk about the candidates, the debates, and of course the polls. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with, what does the President of the United States actually do? Let's dive into the basics of the role, which are spelled out in the U.S. Constitution. Nick Castell has this week's Politics on Point.
To be president, you could just do whatever you want, right? Well, not really. The Founding Fathers set up our government to get away from that king-leader style of government in England. But even a self-governing democracy still needs a top dog, just one with some checks and balances. To find out more, let's turn to our framework, the Constitution. Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution creates the president's position as the head of the executive branch. The document gives some basic rules around it. To be pres, you have to tick off a couple important boxes. Be a natural-born U.S. citizen, be 35 years old, have lived in America 14 years, and not to have been president twice already. He or she is elected by the Electoral College for a 4-year term. With the ground rules set, the Constitution gets into specifics of the job. First, it gives the president the role of Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. This means the president can call on the National Guard when there's an emergency. Like in 1957, when President Dwight D. Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas National Guard to make sure the desegregation at Little Rock High School went peacefully. While being commander-in-chief might sound like the president can tell the troops what to do, it actually isn't so simple. Presidents John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson, and Richard Nixon spent years sending troops to fight in Vietnam without getting the okay from Congress. So in 1973, Congress passed the War Powers Resolution, which requires the president to get their approval first before declaring war. The president also needs 2/3 of the Senate to approve any treaties he wants to make with another country. But he is still the main point person for foreign governments and gets to appoint ambassadors to these nations too. With approval from Congress, the president gets to appoint other super important people like Supreme Court justices. They're the most powerful judges in the country and keep their positions until they die or are unable to judge. Plus, the pres picks leaders of all the federal departments too. So it might sound like Congress gets a lot of say in what our president does, and they do. But the president also gets a say in what Congress does. Congress, the House of Representatives, and the Senate is primarily responsible for making laws. But none of their laws can go into effect without the approval of the president. On their own, Congress can write up bills all day. However, it isn't until the president gives his signature that the bill becomes a law. When the president is presented with a bill he doesn't like, he has the power to veto it. Veto is the constitutional right to reject a bill. Still, if 2/3 of Congress really want the bill to pass, they can override the president's veto. Now, the president does have some power to make rulings of his own without the thumbs up from Congress. This is through executive order. For example, President Donald Trump passed an executive order calling for the government to help get internet to all of America, especially rural areas that have difficulty getting online. Plus, the president can grant pardons for federal crimes. In 1974, President Gerald Ford used this power to pardon his predecessor, President Richard Nixon, who resigned after the Watergate scandal. Ford excused Nixon of any crimes he may have committed while president, saying he wanted the country to move on from the event. Perhaps the biggest perk of presidency, though, is the influence that the position holds. As the main guy in both Washington and the nation, the president's ideas are always taken into consideration, even if they come through a tweet. Now that's a lot of power.
Thanks for the explainer, Nick. Although Election Day isn't until November 5th, there are a few milestones we have to reach first. One of the first stages is the primary election. A primary election is a voting process held before the general election where members of a political party choose their preferred candidate to represent the party in the upcoming general election. Okay, let's meet some of the candidates for presidency. There are currently 13 people in the running. 3 candidates for the Democratic Party, 7 on the Republican side, and another 3 running as independent candidates. An additional 7 people started presidential campaigns but have already dropped out. By the end of the primary elections in September, it will be narrowed down to 1 main candidate for the Republican Party, 1 main candidate for the Democratic Party, and any independent candidates that can gain enough support to get on the ballot. 2 of the main contenders are people who have actually already been president. On the Democratic side, there's current President Joe Biden. If elected, this would be his second and final term as president. This is according to the 22nd Amendment. And for the Republican Party, former President Donald Trump is running again. This would also be Trump's second term as president, meaning that if he wins the race, he would not be able to run again. We'll be talking about the election throughout the year, but if you want to learn more about it now and government functions in general, you can always check out our Politics on Point videos on our website and on YouTube. Now let's shift to world news, specifically Japan, where a 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit on January the 1st. The quake triggered fires and damaged buildings and homes, forcing tens of thousands of people to take shelter in evacuation centers. Hanako Montgomery takes us inside one of those centers where people are dealing with several different challenges.
It's been more than a day since the powerful quake, but for Minaya and her mother, the impact still very fresh.
Thinking about it now still makes me tremble. My heart was pounding. My mind went blank. We just scrambled, things like our wallets, and ran outside.
Minaya was visiting her family for New Year's when the quake struck. Her mother's house now unlivable because of the powerful impact. The pair, luckily, able to escape unharmed. But with the constant aftershocks, they're still far from safe.
I feel like even now the building is shaking. Whenever an aftershock happens, I think of the main quake and my body trembles.
But it's not just the tremors people here have to worry about. Other than a roof, there's little else. There is no heating right now, so people are sleeping on mats. They're using thick blankets to stay warm. There's also no running water, so the Japanese Self-Defense Forces are just outside this building handing out water to locals. This water, a lifeline for dozens here and thousands across the region, left without supply or simply without homes.
Thank you, Hanako. As you might remember, back in October 2023, a conflict erupted between Israel and Hamas, the militant Islamic group that has held control over Gaza since 2006. Flash forward to today, the war is still going on. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the war against Hamas is going to continue for months. Journalists have had an important role to play by capturing the reality on the ground. Among them, a 9-year-old reporter who is documenting the challenges of being displaced and being under siege in Gaza. Shama Nasindi has her story.
I got ready and wore my armor and helmet to report on the war on Gaza.
At just 9 years old, Lama Shamu is one of the youngest Palestinians reporting on the reality of life under siege in Gaza, after Israel launched its military response to Hamas's October 7 attack. Lama and her family had to flee their home in Gaza City because of Israeli airstrikes. They fled once to Khan Yunis in the south and again to a shelter in Rafah. She has amassed hundreds of thousands of followers online for reporting on the daily challenges of living through war, which she shares to her Instagram.
I wanted to show and make clear for the world that the children of Palestine are suffering. There is no food and drinks. They don't have anything. Today, I am here at the hospital to see children of Gaza who are hurt.
From interviewing kids injured by shelling at hospitals to documenting the difficult living conditions at school shelters, Lama is a voice for some of the most vulnerable in Gaza, children.
When the war started, we noticed she had something to say. She grabbed the phone and started making vlogs to talk about the situation in Gaza, the bombardment, and displacement of people.
Lama's father told CNN that he is very proud, adding that we are suffering from the war like other people in Gaza. Her message is clear to the whole world, Please stop the war and return back to normal life. Despite the dangerous conditions, Lama courageously continues to report to the world and inspire hope in a new generation.
Thank you, Shama and Lama, for that report. On our last episode, we asked you to send in all the questions you had about a career in engineering. And now we have a brand new career call-out where we learn what an engineer does. An engineer is a person who uses science, math, and creativity to solve problems and create things. There are many types of engineers. Some engineers design and build bridges. Others create amazing gadgets or develop new technologies, like the ones in your favorite games or toys. There are also engineers who work on things like spaceships. Engineers have to be good at math and science. They have to have creativity and problem-solving skills. Depending on the type of engineering, they might need specific technical skills, like knowing how to use computer programs, operate machinery, or understand materials. And engineers have to be curious. They often ask themselves, how does this work, or how can I make this better? This career requires a bachelor's degree. The average salary for an engineer in Ohio is about $93,000 per year. It has a 3% projected growth for the next 10 years, and that is the average growth for all careers. We now meet Jaime Garcia, an engineer at 3D Systems. He is here to answer your questions about the job.
Hi, I'm Jaime Garcia. I'm 3D Printing Solution Manager for 3D Systems, and I'm here to answer some of your questions about engineering careers. First question. Ryder from Hickory Ridge Elementary in Brunswick writes, I would like to know exactly what an engineer does, and are there different types of engineering? Well, Ryder, what engineer does is basically use his abilities and skills to solve problems that can help people and the environment where we live. And then basically what we try to do as an engineer is solve problems. What are the different types of engineering? Well, you will find there are multiple disciplines of engineering, from mechanical engineering, electrical, up to biomedical engineering, aeronautical engineering. There are many disciplines available in the universities that you can learn about. Next question. Nora from Cassingham Elementary in Baxley wants to know, how you always wanted to be an engineer, and what college did you go? Nora, since I was a young kid, I wanted to learn how the things works. I tear down radios and other appliances and things at home that get my mom angry and mad, but I wanted to learn how the things work. That is the first hint that I wanted to be in the engineering field. And basically, if you have that curiosity, when you are young, it's more likely that you are also good for science and maybe engineering. And what college did you go? I went to the University Autónoma de Nuevo León in Monterrey, Mexico, and I graduated from mechanical and electrical engineering, and I have a master's degree in design for mechanical engineering. Abigail from Frank Elementary in Perrysburg sent us this question. Dear NewsDepth, I'm wondering if they use a lot of 3D printing stuff. Well, Abigail, I can tell you that 3D printing has been growing a lot in all industries and is being applied everywhere. Right now, for example, is exciting activities in medical engineering where there are printing tissues and even full organs to be used in human transplants. And then 3D printing is used everywhere and has been in the last 30 years an important tool for the industry and growing in medicine and another industry that typically we don't think they can use 3D printing. Mrs. Hetman, 4th grade class from Bath Elementary in Akron, teamed up to send a few questions. Have you ever invented anything? And what project was your favorite? We would also like to tell NewsHound we all say hi. Okay, I think NewsHound has heard your hi. And yes, I had invented thing, but invention doesn't need to be a complete revolutionary thing. You can invent small things and you can be called an inventor. Yes, I have been invented too many things in all my experience and job. I hold 18 patents for components and parts that I invented for the activities that I have been done in my life. And what is my favorite project? Well, one of my favorite projects is when I was working for an agricultural company that I invented a new agricultural plow for tractors. And then that was one of the most exciting invention that was accepted by a lot of people, and I was very proud because it was my first real invention in the industry. And it's very proud when you have something that really helps people to do the things easier.
Thank you, Jaime. Did you happen to catch Jaime's last name, Garcia? He's actually our producer, Natalia Garcia's dad. Anyway, way back in episode 4, we asked you what STEM fields you were interested in learning about in this year's career call-out segments, and you told us you were interested in careers in AI, artificial intelligence. Well, we recently met a senior at Chagrin Falls High School who was not only interested in careers that involve AI and other technologies in the field of machine learning, he's already hard at work charting his career path. Machine learning is a branch of artificial intelligence and computer science which focuses on the use of data and algorithms to imitate the way that humans learn. For his pioneering work in AI, Schluck is this week's A+ award winner. As an advanced placement student, or an AP student for short, Schluck had to do a research project. He is very interested in AI, computer science, and machine learning. Schluck noticed that over the last few years, the amount of inappropriate language and interactions on social media has been increasing, and he wanted to do something about it. The question he wanted to answer was, can you teach a computer like you can teach a student? While he was working on this question, he was able to partner with a professor at Indiana University and several PhD students who were studying computer science. His work led him to develop an app called i2Vibes. The app is a social networking app that helps you spend time with yourself, reflecting on the good things that have happened, and lets you be yourself without judgment. How cool is that? Schluck has also founded a nonprofit organization called Cognitive Harmony. Its goal is to research ways to prevent anxiety and depression in young people by using technology, AI, and machine learning. This week's A+ award goes to Schluck at Chagrin Falls High School in Chagrin Falls for not only creating an app and a nonprofit, but for using his research to make the world a better place. Keep it up, Schluck. We're very impressed with all of your work. All right, on with the show. Camp Cheerful, located in Strongsville, Ohio, opened as Ohio's first camp with recreation programs for children with disabilities in 1947. Today, children and adults with physical, developmental, and sensory disabilities can take part and benefit from various activities and programs. One program they have is therapeutic horsemanship. Therapeutic horsemanship is a form of therapy that involves activities with horses to help with a person's physical and mental health. When used as physical therapy, like adaptive riding, the motion of a horse can be therapeutic since they mimic the movement of a human walking. Thanks to this program, anyone with a wide range of abilities is able to ride a horse. Horses are also great mirrors of human emotion, meaning they can recognize different emotions and adapt to them. Socialization is a big part of therapeutic sportsmanship too, because it takes a team of staff and volunteers involved with helping each person and each horse. Would you like to learn more? That is great, because we have a spot on science all about it. Check it out.
Camp Cheerful was established in 1947. It's run by the Achievement Centers for Children. We have 3 locations, one in Westlake, one in Highland Hills, and Camp Cheerful here in Strongsville. Part of the therapeutic horsemanship program is the adapted riding, which is what most people are familiar with.
You got it good. Thank you. Very good. Okay, we use these straps.
The adapted riding program is geared towards a rider's individual goals. So although the rider has disabilities, we gear the lesson towards what their goals are. So for some, it may be following directions. It may be improving their posture and sitting up tall. Some of them may be sequencing, building some self-confidence, that sort of thing. Right, tell them, walk on. Walk on. Good. And you're going to turn left and go down the corner.
Well, I had her at 24 weeks. She was in the incubator. They gave me a 50% chance of her going to live or not. So that's why I named her Miracle May. And when she was in the NICU, we called her M&M.
Get ready for 2-point. Hands on the neck. Push yourself up. Eyes up and ahead. Awesome. Well done.
It started when she was younger, and then we stopped for a while. And then she had to have surgery, but now we're back. And she's all excited.
Good. Shoulders back. Very good. Sit up straight. Good.
Well, I mean, I think everybody who comes here as a volunteer will say, this is our happy place. We do a lot of the things you saw Miracle do, you know, because this helps with balance. To go around a barrel, you have to keep yourself balanced as the horse kind of tilts and use muscles to keep themselves upright.
3, 4, 5. And point to your horse's ears for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was doing an intake and the child was on the horse. He was about 4, and we asked the riders to tell their horse to walk on, to go, and to say whoa, to stop. And the child was saying, you know, I said, say walk on, and the child said walk on. And I looked over and the parent that brought the child was crying. And I went over and said, is everything okay? And she said, he has never spoke. Those were his first words. I still get choked up saying that because it was so exciting for them. That's right. There we go.
And then they make progress, and you know, somebody who is scared, sometimes by the time 6 weeks are up, they're just not scared at all anymore, and that's a wonderful thing too.
Horses make me feel happy.
We have 10 horses and ponies. Some of them have been donated, some of them we've purchased. We really look at what the program needs. They have to be very forgiving, and they have to love a lot of attention because they get a lot of grooming and a lot of hugs and a lot of people around them, so they have to have that type of a demeanor. A lot of these horses have found a soft place to land, especially those that have been donated. A lot of times they've had a previous career or they've worked very hard, and while this job is it is not an easy job for them, but it's a soft place to land for them for sure.
Special thanks to our intern, Alexandra Samame, for producing that story. Great job, as always, Alexandra. And she also helped us come up with a write-in question for the week. We want to hear about a time in your life when an animal helped you feel better. You can send in your answers using our inbox form on our website or by sending us an email to newsdepth@ideastream.org. I can't wait to read your letters. You know, we're all animal lovers here at NewsDepth headquarters. There's a particular member of our team that would love to play with all the dogs in the world if he could. Hound, of course. Well, what do you say we make him do his job before we can go off and play with all those dogs? Oh, Hound, what do you have for us this week? Hey, Hound. Oh, we're too late. He's already at doggy daycare? But he's a professional. He surely got his work done ahead of time. Hey, Hound, did you find us a good petting zoo story this week? Oh, it's a story about a veteran from Michigan with a miniature horse as a service animal. That's great. To see more about Eli the pony, click the petting zoo thumbnail at the bottom of this episode page. Thanks as always, Hound. Of course, horses are not the only animals that can brighten our day. Animals have a remarkable ability to positively impact human mood. Interacting with animals, whether through companionship or therapy, can provide emotional support and enhance overall well-being. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says studies have shown there are several health benefits to having a pet, including decreased blood pressure, lower cholesterol, and they can help with feelings of loneliness and anxiety. Although I don't have any pets at home, I think NewsHound always brings a positive attitude to our planning meetings. But that brings us to our poll question. It's an easy one this week. We want to know if you have any pets. Jump over to our poll page to vote. You can choose between yes, I have one pet, yes, I have more than one pet, or no, I don't have any pets. In our last episode, we asked you what would you pick as a new slang word for 2023. Wow, we got more than 3,000 votes. With 36% of the votes, in first place, we have simp. That's when someone is being a little bit extra because they have a crush. 28% of you voted for cap. We have a tie for third place, both with 15% of the votes. We have bap and buku. And if you remember, those are the words that our friends from Invictus High School told us about. And 6% of you said that salty was the word for 2023. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but you know we always want to hear from you, and there are plenty of ways you can stay in touch with us. You can write to us. We're at 1375 Euclid Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio. Our zip code here is 44115. Or you can email us at newsdepth@ideastream.org. Plus, you can catch all of our special segments on YouTube. Hit subscribe if you're old enough so you don't miss out on any of our new videos. Thank you for joining us. I'm Gabriel Kramer. We'll see you back here next week.
NewsDepth is made possible by a grant from the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation.
Career callouts featured in NewsDepth are funded by the Ohio Broadcast Media Commission.